I have started the recording.
Yeah.
Andrzej, I'll ask you to kind of mute yourself and turn off the video for now, and then we come back to discuss.
Okay.
So it's going to be interesting for me because I'm going to be playing the client, but also going to be an observer. So I'll be doing two things. And we can do it in two ways, Michal. One is like we do the whole chunk, 10, 15 minutes of coaching, or we can do a bit, pause for a moment, debrief, discuss what's going on, and continue. Kind of stop and go. So whatever is more useful for you, just observe. Like, would you like to continue, or if you need to get some help from me, we can stop and treat it as an exercise. It's not. I'll discuss real stuff, but it's still a practice session. Is that
Hmm.
fine?
Yeah, I just would prefer if you would do it at the end, but as you're actively participating in it, I probably feel that I would get more feedback from you if you would stop for a moment and
Uh-huh.
you think about your feelings and when there is some kind of blockage or everything that occurred between us.
Okay. 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 Andre, would you turn off the camera,
Yeah.
please?
Yeah.
Thank you. So, I'm in your hands, Michal. I'm your coach. I'm your coach now.
Hi, Alex. Nice to meet you.
Hello.
Hmm. Can you tell me what brings you to me today?
Yeah, I had a busy week, and I expect that some of that busyness will spill over to the next week. And there are a few loose ends, which make me a bit uncomfortable. So I want to think about how to plan my next week.
Can you elaborate more on what are those loose ends?
Yeah, specifically, what it means is that there are two important conversations with lawyers, two different cases, two different lawyers, and one is a bit more urgent, but like I would need to meet them both next week, and I know that these things are important, and like I want to have those sessions as soon, kind of those meetings as soon as possible, but at the same time, like I feel that then I block all my calendar and like other important things won't happen because like I need to earn money, I need to have coaching sessions, and if I block too much time in order to be flexible to meet the lawyers, then I will not have enough time to basically deliver the work and earn money.
Hmm. Uh, can you elaborate more on the urgency? Because you seem to tell me that only one of them is urgent, as I understand correctly, and the other it's like you want to get rid of as soon as possible, right? Or is it urgent as well?
Well, yes, kind of one is more urgent. Well, they are both urgent. It's more like with one case that the deadline is like a month starting from last Wednesday, this Wednesday. And the other the other is related to opening another restaurant, and it means that it's basically about the lease agreement and certain negotiation that goes on there. So I want that to be signed as soon as possible because a lot of things are waiting until it's sorted out. And Yeah, and like basically right now it's revision of the agreement, and I don't know how much time exactly would it take. And yeah,
Hmm. What is exactly blocking you to, figure out how much time you would need to block for all those two meetings?
I don't know when the revised agreement is going to be ready. And like until I know that, it means that until I know that it means that I need to be as flexible as possible.
Hmm.
But also like the problem with flexibility, I mean, like in programming, if you block some resources, they're not available for other stuff, and other stuff is also important. But this stuff is also important, so it's more like almost like a deadlock. This stuff is blocked, this resource is blocked, but I still need it. And uh,
Hmm. Let me just recap what I heard is that you've got two urgent meetings for tomorrow, but yet you don't know
no,
when.
it's not for tomorrow. It's for the next week.
Sorry, for the next week. Sorry, for the next week.
Hmm.
And you don't know when they occur and how long it's gonna take. So they are like a burden on your mind because you want to keep flexible, yet you
Hmm.
want your sessions going on and scheduling for the
Uh-huh.
next week.
It, it, I wouldn't say that it's burden on my mind. It's more like a burden on my calendar.
Mm.
Also, most likely they are not going to be long. Uh, the thing which is less urgent is going to be probably like a quick conversation, and it's more about like me giving like the paper copies of documents and maybe discussing few sessions. So I think with getting there and then from there it's going to be maybe an hour or two. The second could be also quite quick. It's more about like getting together with the owner of the place and signing it.
Mm. Okay. Can you tell me how then you would
Would
like?
you like to do a break and discuss
Yeah.
what's going? Like first of all, I think you like I noticed that kind of you're thinking. So it seems like you kind of what's the word? Tense. So there's some kind of tension when you think about the question.
Mm. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that right now? It was there like,
I don't feel the tension. I just try to get into your shoes and imagine it, how you might feel and what you experience, and
mm-hmm,
maybe the visualization look like that.
uh-huh. What
Mm.
maybe different way to phrase to describe it is kind of not tension but kind of seriousness. So it's kind of very serious.
Mm.
So the, I know that about myself as a coaching client. Like I do a lot of work on my own. I wasn't particularly helpful, but what happened with me, I already had several insights. I was just not very explicit about that. Uh, so in a way, this conversation is already helpful to me. But let me see what I how can I help you learn from that? You didn't ask me what I would like to get from it. So basically, I was thinking, I was reflecting, but there was no kind of desired state to achieve in this session.
Mm.
Does it make sense? So I described the situation, and one of the earliest questions that could have been is like, so what you would like to get from this conversation?
Mm. Okay.
So what, like, because like I'm in the process, I was not that observable as I usually am in those sessions, but several times you reflect. So basically, you summarized what I said, and actually, one of those things you can end with, so this and this and this and this, and what's for today,
Mm.
and what do you want in this conversation? So basically, kind of you acknowledging that you heard what I'm saying or what I'm struggling with, and you can connect that to a specific result.
Mm.
Uh, if you don't mind, I'll scribble a bit.
Okay, may I have a question? So it's time for.
Andrzej, one
Okay.
second. I'll ask Michal. Michal, is it okay if we debrief a bit and then we return again? Is it
Yeah,
fine?
yeah, 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 yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, Andrzej, yeah, feel free to ask.
Yeah. You mentioned that. What do you want from me? That's maybe the first question from coach. So, is that some kind of contract or deal or something that
Yeah,
I as a coach or coached man, as I said, I want this, etc., and
yeah, yeah. So, like
it's not necessary to be written. Am I right? Just words or
hmm So
imagination.
it depends. Uh,
Okay.
in coaching competencies, there are often like two things meant by contracting or by establishing coaching agreement. So there are like more long-term things. So basically, when you start with a new client, what you do is I mean, if you are a designer or if you're a plumber, you ask your client, what do you want? What do you need from me, right? So there's this type of kind of logistics, like how many sessions do we have? What do you expect from me? So kind of longer term agreement. It still could be like only like verbal, not necessarily written down. But this is like more for the whole coaching program or the whole coaching engagement. In every coaching conversation, there's also coaching agreement. So what's for today? Why it's needed first because like when we never know where exactly our coaching client is in terms of thinking about the situation. So like if we assume based on what we observed or what happened in the previous session, it may mean that we will meet them in the wrong place. So
Mm.
it's often useful to check in, okay, so what's for today? And again, I'm coming from this definition of coaching as helping others think, right? In mentoring, it could be slightly different. In coaching, when we help people think, we need to kind of align coaching with their internal process. So we need to check in with kind of where exactly they are and what very specifically they need for today. So basically, if they start, or I did start in a certain kind of context, point A, kind of what's implicit in a coaching conversation that there is some kind of point B where I want to get. Ooh, lousy B. Uh, but
I don't see anything if you are
you don't
broad.
see? Ooh,
Yeah, I do.
external meeting cannot access the whereabouts of the meeting because external cloud sharing is disabled in your account. Ooh,
I see the point A and point B.
Michal, you cannot see it.
No, I see only blank screen.
Hmm. Let me try to do it again because that's very weird. I'll try to share it again. Whiteboard, share. Can you see it right now, Michal?
Nope.
Let me do it in a different way.
I, s- I see your mouse. No, that
Yeah,
was my
that's.
mouse.
I'll open a different whiteboard then. sec. I'll close this one and I will share this one. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
A and B. So in coaching, what's implied is that people want to get to some other place. So they want something. And it could be that they're not aware what exactly they want. So in order for us to understand that coaching is working, we need to have this kind of directionality. I mean, maybe it's going to start like this, and then we correct here, and like this, and then to correct here. But at least we need to understand like we are moving in a certain direction. So because of that, we need to know like what exactly is happening here, and we need to understand what exactly is needed. So usually, what we need to ask, and there are different questions to ask. Basically, we need to ask something about the outcome. And we need to ask something about success criteria. What often is helpful is something about the motivation. So these three things, at least what is specified by the International Coaching Federation, coaching competencies. So in order to establish coaching agreement, we need to ask like, what do you want to achieve in this session? Then we need to ask, how would you know that you have this? Like, what do you want to have at the end of this conversation that you don't have now? And we need to ask something about like why it's important for you. What would be different for you when you have it? Because sometimes it could be, well, it's not really B. They want C, which is somewhere here, right? Because maybe I want to say that I want to understand how to plan my next week, and you ask me why it's important, and I say, well, I want to have more time in my calendar for coaching sessions, or I want to be calmer, or something else. Or sometimes when you talk with people who, in the work context, let's say people who report to you and they say, I want to get a promotion. And we can kind of think about how we get there. But we can ask like why it's important for you. And then we can have different conversation. Maybe it's because they don't feel treated fairly. Or maybe it's because they want more money because, I don't know, they have mortgage. Or maybe they want to have more status because of a new title. And these things will presuppose different types of focus, right? Because when we know why it's needed, maybe we can address the thing even without. Because like maybe promotion is not available because there's no budget for it, but the title is available. So we can just give title and that's it.
Mhm.
So if we try this approach to what I was saying, or actually we can try it once again. Would you like to kind of do it from the start?
Yeah, I just have one question.
Sure.
With my approach,
Mm-hmm.
basically, understand the current situation, then ask when now I know, understand where you are, then I
Mm-hmm.
will ask the question where you want to be,
Yeah.
and then ask, okay, what have you tried to be there, right? That was my like the vision, the high level vision, and I
Yeah.
ask you so many questions to better understand your current situation.
Yes. And let me give you another amazing drawing. So imagine that here's you, and let's say this is a cup. And imagine here is me, and this is my cup. And by cup, I'm metaphorically thinking about like the vessel where you store the knowledge about the situation. So here is my cup is full, like I know everything about the situation. And I think two of your first questions were something to the effect like, tell me more, right? Would it be fair to describe? So you asked me, tell me more. Okay, I told you a bit more. So you now know more about the situation, and nothing changed for me. And you ask once again, tell me more, and you know even more about the situation. Not as much as I know, but like nothing changed for me. And that would work, but it will take more time, and it's more like a, I would say, mentoring approach, because like you gain more knowledge about the situation. So what? So that you can do something with this knowledge. So sometimes it, like if you're working with a new person, it could be confusing because like this person, me in this case, would be thinking, okay, so what would they do with this information? They are collecting it, but for what? So if we come with the from this definition that coaching is about helping think, ideally every question is going to be in order to move them somewhere or move me somewhere. So basically, like it's not about the transferring information, but it's more about like what what like what's, imagine this is thing, kind of what's the delta, what's the increment of self-understanding that I want to achieve? Like how can you help me to increase this self-knowledge?
Mm.
And like another amazing drawing, like imagine you are asking the questions, and this is about coach knows, coach doesn't know, and this is going to be, I'd say, thinker. Thinker knows, and thinker doesn't know. Thinker, it's me, the client. So you can ask about stuff that you as a coach know and your client knows, or you can ask about stuff that your client know but you don't know, and kind of you gain more knowledge about the situation, but nothing kind of increases for the client. Ideally, you strive to ask your questions here about stuff that your client don't know and you don't know.
Mm.
Or sometimes maybe it's this kind of, maybe you have some kind of inkling or some kind of hypothesis, so you may ask about something you probably know or guess, but they don't know. But kind of the idea is strive to, with every question or with every rephrasing, trying to introduce something new in their reflection, in their thinking. And
Mm.
it also saves time because your approach would work. I'm not saying that it's a bad approach. It just takes more time. And it also like assumes that you need this knowledge. And in reality, sometimes we don't give a fucking we don't have a fucking clue about what they're talking about, but they gain an insight, and that's what's important.
Mm. Okay. So it's like mind shift from my
Yes,
normal
yeah,
way.
yeah, 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 yeah. Like I can tell you an insight that I had if you want,
Yeah,
or we can play a bit more with this request.
you can tell me the insight and then we can play.
That's not gonna be fair, but or maybe maybe I need to think about a different request so that we can kind of start from scratch.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll stop sharing, and we can do just like the beginning so that you can try those questions and that approach that I just described. Is that fine?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just give me 1 second. I'll think what I would bring. Yeah, I have a request.
okay. Can you tell me how I can support you?
Yeah, I'm thinking about how how I how I can plan time for coaching in the next month because I have many new clients, which is great, but also like I'm struggle to think like how to squeeze everything into my calendar.
Hmm. Okay. So, where you would like to be in this after this session? What would you like to achieve?
I I want to have more confidence that I would be able to uh, address everything. Kind of have enough time for my clients, have enough uh, like a buffer for other potential tasks because there's some uncertainty, and also yeah, these two things, these are the most important.
Mm. So you want to have the confidence, like that you will be able to handle all the upcoming tasks that might
Yeah,
appear spontaneously, and as well
yeah.
the task that you want to plan for the next month.
Mhm.
Why is that important for you?
Mm, First of all, because I need money. Like right now, money will be critical in the next few months, so I want to kind of earn uh, enough. Also, I want to do it in a way where I'm not overburdened because many of those clients they are in the US hours. So like I want to have like normal working hours. I don't mind working later. It's like just not every day. So kind of self-care, and kind of managing my what's the word? Energy.
Hmm. Okay, so it's important for you because you want to have both money and as well keep your well-being, right? And those
Yeah,
are
yeah. Hmm.
and what are the things that take your mind outside those priorities?
So, I'm kind of changing my head. You've lost me there. But I'll play along. I could be a good client. Mm, can you phrase it differently?
Hmm. So how does your situation right now differs from the situation 1 month before?
Hmm. Like I have around 10 new clients starting this week, or like they onboarded this week, but like I started working with some this week, with some I will start next week, and right now what's not clear is like because everyone is different, you never know like which will require more sessions with me, which won't. So it's more like my planning horizon is like week, half a week until I talk with all of them.
Hmm. So what's your motivation to plan 1 month ahead?
Um, I am a kind of person who thrives when there's a lot of free space in my calendar. And when when everything is packed, I become kind of like I don't like it because I want to have time to write. I don't want I want to have time to read. I want to have time to meditate or go on a walk. And when it becomes too packed, like I feel that that's going to be difficult, especially given that there are some other tasks which are not related to coaching, which I would need to take care of.
Hmm. when you pick up new clients, how did you thought about um, planning those sessions into the
Hmm.
future? So
I'll, I'll stop it here, Michal. What are you noticing about this question?
sorry, once again.
What are you noticing about this question?
Mm, I think that in the background, they might
Mm-hmm.
be thought that my client took too many clients that he wanted. So now I ask whether what was his thoughts or what were your thoughts when you pick
Mm-hmm.
up clients that would disturb your way of living or your
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So there is some kind of it's not concern, but like there is some kind of hypothesis about what happened, and
Yeah,
you want to check in.
yeah.
So like I think the less indirect you are, it's the better. Kind of you can just say like I'm trying to think like how to phrase it differently. The reason I stopped and wanted to reflect about this question, it's like it's one thing. It's not so. I'm going back to the drawing board. Let me start a new. How do I do that? New whiteboard. So ideally, what you would like to have is to have this movement in a more or less fluent way. Like if there is A and there is B, it's gonna be something like this. So it's not gonna be always on point or focused, but like it's gonna be some kind of in some connected ways, right? Uh, what I felt is that your question was not necessarily related to the previous thing. So I think that this kind of fluidity was not there. And we will have the recording. What's the beautiful thing about the recording that you will be able to see yourself. And what happened in the first segment when we practiced and in the second segment when we practice is that you stop to think. When I stop, you stop to think. So what's happening in the session is, can I clear it all? Yes. So we start here. I say something, then there is some kind of pause, and you choose the direction.
Mhm.
Uh, the reason I'm saying that is like sometimes when you don't know what to do, you can ask your client. You can ask, so what do we need to do today? That's actually one of the, yeah, kind of one of the another um, competency markers of establishing coaching agreement is that coach partners with the client to, I don't remember the exact wording, but basically to find out what needs to be done in this session in order to achieve that. So basically you ask like, what do you need? How would you know that you got it? Why do you need it? And so what should we do today to help you get there? So basically that's what you can do from time to time. So other than stop here and do some thinking in order like what next step should be in order to continue the movement, what you can do is you can ask. If you don't know, you can ask. So basically, like it could be, something like this. where you will be kind of checking in, thinking about, okay, he wants this, so I better ask this. It's better to kind of let them do the thing. Also, I'm aware that maybe I'm overwhelming you with kind of with theory. So let me know if that's too much.
No, that's fine. I'm just thinking, okay, so we are pausing for a moment, and then I'm asking you how we can move from this moment forward.
Yeah, something like this. So what should we do now? How how can I help you get there? What my role should be. It's like, again, I'm not saying that I'm fully perfect on that account, but ideally you or we as coaches, what we do is we are very, very much detached in a good way. Not because we don't care, but because we are not, kind of rolling up our sleeves and then do the thinking for them, not connecting the dots for them. Uh, and also, like ideally, would it be okay if I invite you to do something after this session?
Yeah, exactly.
So what I would recommend you to do is I'll share the recording, transcribe all the stuff that you said, all your questions, all your reflections, just write them down and ask yourself, why did I say that? And kind of figure out what was the intention behind the reflection or behind the question. And you'll also have the opportunity to observe yourself in that moment. You'll notice your brows.
Mm.
Ideally, you do as, in those moments, you do as less as possible. So sometimes it could be like a broken English. You're not even finishing the sentences. Or it could be something like and, or it could be something and today, and now. And Andre, feel free to chip in. We've done with practice. Right now we
Yeah.
can continue.
Mm.
Yeah.
Michal, I'm curious, what did you learn in these two segments, and what can you practice or focus on going forward?
I'm trying to connect the dots, what you said right now, and you ask me about my thinking and my eyebrows. Is that I'm trying maybe too much to solve the problem of my client instead of asking directing questions.
Yeah,
That I'm giving I'm thinking about some hypothesis, etc., etc., instead of guiding
yeah,
the thinker to think harder or to, point it to some other direction, other perspective.
mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then because of my thinking, I also mm, yeah, stop the flow of the conversation, that I'm
Yes,
just
yes, yeah,
jumping to
yeah,
some unrelated points, like
mm-hmm.
total.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good point because like I'm aware of those things. Most people kind of they don't care that much because they don't have coaching experience, right? But like what was happening to me is like I stop here because I wait for you. And if I stop, okay, I'll stop. And ideally, we want to keep the momentum. We want kind of we want them work in our heads, obviously, but we want them work. And if they stop and wait for us to talk, to produce kind of the best possible question. So usually sometimes it's better to ask a lousy question, but keep the momentum because they will self-correct. They will say, I don't think that's a good question.
Mm,
And then it's like I'm very cautious because I'm thinking I can overwhelm you with all the ideas. So like skip everything which is irrelevant, and maybe even like focus on one, two things that you can get from today's session. Because like I can talk for hours about that stuff, but then it's hard to digest everything.
No, it's good for me because it as well gives me some point of reference where I am, right?
Yeah.
It's not that I see that I have, I know, two mistakes, but there's like the
Mm.
uh, mountains of things that are
Uh-huh.
above.
Yeah. And sometimes, I wouldn't call them mistakes, but like those things could stem from the same source. Like maybe I highlighted a few things for you, but they come from the same source. And if you address that source, like everything will flow. And I think if I'm getting correctly, the source might be is kind of not attachment, but like something about like trying to drive this process, trying to help. And sometimes kind of that's the paradox. By trying to be helpful and supportive, we are doing more work for them. And because of that, they are not doing their work. And it means that we
Exactly.
need to do even more work. So that's kind of like a vicious circle. They are not thinking, so we need to think even more then. And it becomes more stressful, and they're just waiting.
Mm, mm. Yeah, okay, so we kind of are thinking with our hypothesis, and then it releases the burden from them to think about their
Yeah,
hypothesis.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, and even the wrong questions will allow to keep the momentum flow,
yeah.
but there is a wrong path, the client will redirect himself, right?
Yes,
In the
yes,
right.
yes. Yeah, yeah. And what I was about to say. Yeah, one of the ideas that I say to kind of when I teach coaching skills, I say that the easiest way to start coaching is to ask people what you think. So someone comes with a question to you, like in work context, people, your colleagues, people who report to you, they will ask you a question. And the easiest thing is like, I'm not saying it's like ping pong, but like you throw the ball back to them and what do you think? And that's kind of the attitude that you have and what do you think? And you and what's for you and what's now and what's
Mhm.
difficult.
Mhm.
Because like even physically, imagine they throw you a ball like, hey, Micha, like how should I do this? And you're like, how did should it kind of you start answering question for them, right? And the
Mhm.
same thing I'm thinking, how should I plan my next month? And you have the ball and you think, how should I plan the month? How should I help him plan his month, right? But you can think, so how can you plan your next month? Something like this, metaphorically, obviously.
Okay.
I think it's really, really difficult to think about question. What do you think differently? Because I think that my opposite side can think, oh, he's very lazy. He's just asking, what do you think? But the truth is on the other side. That the question, what do you think, is very powerful. So
Hmm.
uh, I should stop thinking
Yeah.
about my opponent, what
Mm.
he thinks about me, and just use
Yes.
this simple sentence. What do you think? Yeah.
We almost at time. Do you need to leave strictly at the top of the hour?
Yeah, I have
Okay.
because I've got meetings, so
So,
that's
Andre, what's your biggest takeaway?
my last sentence. The powerful "What do you think?" question, and
Okay.
thank you for your honest, for your transparency. I'm really happy to connect to this session and enjoy your coaching session, your
My pleasure.
practicing. Thank you
My
very much,
pleasure.
guys,
My pleasure.
and have a nice day and have a nice
Bye bye.
weekend.
Bye bye, Andre.
Bye.
Michal, what's your biggest takeaway?
That's it. It's more difficult than I thought. I
Mm.
thought it's just the thought process how to help clients with. mm,
Mm-hmm.
um, moving forward to this point B. And now I'm thinking it's more like creating the environment for thinking
Yeah, yeah, that's a
itself.
good insight. What would you what can you
Mm,
do differently to help with that?
mm. I think I want to read more about it and as well to revisit this video and practice more
Uh-huh.
because the experience of it is totally different. Like when I'm reading the book, I understand the concept, but
Mm.
when I was playing with you, it was like, whoa, it's totally different arena
Mm-hmm.
than I was before. Like in
Yeah.
the mentorship, it's something totally different than here, and the way I think is totally different.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah.
and I noticed that. mm, it's much more difficult because when I've got some solutions, I can point forward to those solutions. And here is thinking about the answers that are getting closer to point B, yet they are not pointing in some particular direction. So it's totally different mode of thinking that I've known before.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good way to describe it.
And I'm very grateful for this session. It's opened my eyes to all those things. And your feedback is very valuable for me.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'll share this session with you. I'll upload it on my YouTube, and then you'll be able to just like observe yourself because that's something we don't do. Just don't be hard on yourself. It's learning. There are no mistakes. It's just learning.
Okay, you mentioned one thing that about the insight.
Hmm.
That is, it, have you already told me this insight or?
What do you mean?
At some point at our session, you
Uh-huh.
mentioned that some insights, but
Uh-huh.
then you said, let's go with another
Hmm. Uh-huh.
coaching attempt.
Okay.
Do you, have you already told me this insight
No.
or?
No. So you saw the recording of the previous practicum, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things I was talking about there is that there is certain kind of manifestation of insight on the client's face.
Mm,
And when we are too attached to our vision of how the coaching session should go or where should it go, kind of we have our plan for the coaching session. And if we too attach to it, we can miss that they already did everything that they need.
mm,
Like I'm not sure how exactly I looked at that moment, but I'm guessing that it was possible to see maybe something like this. And in that moment, it's important to acknowledge that we see that one thing, and another thing is kind of drop whatever we had before that. Because like imagine if kind of we move, and they jumped, and they already in the point B, but we still drag them here, and we continue as if they're still here, right? So we
mm,
need to adjust where we are toward this point.
mm, mm.
I
Okay.
mean that's kind of a more about like mastery and skill and art of coaching, but also like even if you didn't notice that, checking in from time to time will help. First of all, if you know what's in the point B, then you will have more means to check in. Because for example, if I would say like I need to write down 3 actions, then several times in the coaching session you can ask, so what about 3 actions?
Mm,
Because maybe I already come up with 3 actions. You don't know that. Maybe even I am not clear about that. But when you check in, you help me clarify. Okay, yeah, actually, I think I have three actions. Or I would say something like, well, actually, I think three actions are not that important. Like, I feel more confident and that's enough. So
Mm.
that checking in process is important because like we don't know where they are, and we may assume we are still both here, and they like way out there.
Mm. Okay. And you're right, because I was so focused on absorbing the information and thinking about the next question that I lose touch with the something external, right? So I
Yeah,
absorbed your thoughts.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. So another thing, and kind of that's what my supervisor says. The best learning of coaching skills happen when we observe thinkers think. So like for example, when she does demo sessions, she said like observe the client, observe the thinker. Don't look at what I'm doing as a coach, but look at what's happening.
mm,
And that's another thing that you can do. Like first think about yourself, write down your questions or whatever you were saying, but also you can try another go and observe myself.
mm,
Kind of what was happening with me and like notice what you probably didn't notice at first because probably there was much more that you were able to perceive at the moment because your
okay.
mind was busy.
Mm. Thank you so much for this insight.
My pleasure.
Mind-blowing session.
Thank you. And if you need more of those, I also have like a paid program, so feel free to reach out and we can discuss it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for as well giving me this info. So maybe when I will have some time, I will think about it.
Yeah. And I'll be in touch to send you the video as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Bye bye, Michal.
Nice.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks.